Peter Mathews is a professor of political science at Cypress College in California. He joins me now live for more on this top story. Thanks so much for joining us here at TRT World. Now, what do you make of the conclusions of the report, both on collusion and on potential obstruction of justice?
Well, first of all, we don't have the full report. This is just a summary, a brief summary from Attorney General William Barr of the Mueller report. And that's why Congress and the committees in Congress headed by mostly Democrats, all Democrats actually, are demanding that the full report be made available to them and to the public. Once we have the full report, we can say, but at this point, the summary report does in fact say the president, there's no evidence that he colluded or conspired with the Russians to get the election won for himself. However, there is a possibility that there's obstruction of justice because Mueller says he cannot exonerate him, but he says there's not enough evidence to convict him on that either, to charge him on that. But no exoneration on obstruction of justice because corrupt intent has to be proven in both cases. And that's a difficult thing to do sometimes. So it's still preliminary. I would say let's wait for the full report to be made public and let's demand that it is being made public.
Now, as you said, Democrats will definitely want to look into every single detail of that report when it comes out. But this is a setback for them, don't you think?
Well, there was a lot of people, I think, even on the Democratic side, and there's other people who said that maybe the Mueller report would finally, put enough evidence there to give a reason for launching an impeachment investigation. And, that didn't come through so far. However, the president's being investigated on several other, and so is his organization, several other potential conflict of interest on possible criminal activity. For example, taxes are being investigated, for example, and there's a New York Times article, a very extensive one, saying that the president and his father actually can work together to avoid taxes in a lot of ways for many years. So that has to be looked at. There's also other kinds of things that the committees are looking into. And depending on how that turns out, that might decide whether or not there's any possible impeachment charges that could be brought. Other investigations are ongoing. The Southern District of New York is looking into some very serious charges against him. There are state investigations, there's federal prosecutors at different state levels that have been handed over investigatory powers from Mueller before he finished. Very serious.
And Peter, how will all this affect Trump's standing with the voting public?
I think this was an important decision today to give him a little bit more credibility on the part of his own supporters. He could always say no collusion, and yet the details speak otherwise, but I think it couldn't hurt him. Now, let's say today that the summary report came out and said the president had, in fact, been charged with some sort of criminal activity or whatever else. That would have been a whole different story. So it has actually helped him temporarily, but I think he's not off the hook yet. There are more investigations still going on, like I said, and those will not stop, and so will not the Democratic-led House of Representatives, all headed up by Democratic committee chairpersons. And some key committees are going into deeper investigation on his particular possible infractions, including the House Judiciary Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, and several others.
Peter Mathews, professor of political science, thanks so much for joining us.